Hi all. In this video, I am going to explain the different functions and types of function used in C. The types of functions that we use in C are functions with arguments but with return value or without return value. And the next two are functions without arguments and same like either they return a value or they will not return a value. Before moving on to the different types and with examples, let us try to understand what are the basic things that we have to observe and understand. This is the data type, return data type that we represent here. Next is the function name. Then the most important thing is the parameter. This is the parameter data type and the parameter name. Same here, and this is the ending semicolon, statement semicolon. So if we say a return value, then we'll either return the type or will not return it. This is the function name. Now we'll have arguments inside it or will not have arguments. First is functions with arguments with return value. Let us see what is done and how it is done. The same example is being carried out for the four types. The example is we will be adding the internal marks and external marks and representing the total marks as the total mark. So adding the internal mark and the external mark is the function. Okay. Now as we started, it is ash include stdio.h, and this is the function declaration with formal parameters. I'll tell you what is formal parameters and actual parameters. This is int, add is the function name as I told in the previous part. Int is the return data type, add is the data function name, and this is the parameter type, integer, and the parameter name is a. Same here, and this is the final semicolon. Now we are entering into the main function. Let us check where we call our function. It is void main, and here it is the integer because we are going to add two numbers. So int ci, which is the internal marks, and this is the external marks, then the total. Both all the three are declared as integer here. Next printf, first we are just printing the internal marks and external marks, so that is given here. Then to print it we need to get the value, so it is scanf. Next I am adding the total. Here we can check total equal to, we are calling the function here with arguments. The type here is functions are called with arguments and also with return value, that we'll check. So this is the argument function name add, and we are calling with argument internal ci and ce. So once this statement is typed, automatically it calls the function. Now let us check where the function is. It goes to the function. Now here is the function int add, int ci, int ce. So this is the function definition, called function, and the formal arguments. This is the formal arguments, and this is the actual arguments, because what I want inside the main program is the c underscore I and c underscore e, whereas that is the actual argument. But what we call inside the function is the parameter, that is nothing but the formal arguments. Okay, and what we do here is we write it as int c total, because we are declaring the parameter as c underscore total, where we take it as ci and ce as the addition, and that is that is added and returned into the c total. Now this is a type where we have functions with arguments, so it is, there is a function with argument, and we are returning the value also, so we write it as return c underscore total, which means whatever I get the summation will be returned back into this function. So once it is written, now here I'll get the total equal to this c underscore total. So the example is 15 plus 20, which is 35. After doing this operation here, it is going to return that value here, and so total equal to 35. And now I'm going to print the total, so I'll get the final total as 35. So here we have functions with arguments with return value. Next we'll see the next type. Next is the functions with arguments without return value. So what will be the function here? See, same one, include stdio.h, and void, instead of int I am putting as void. Why do I declare like this? Because it is not going to return anything, because even in the data types in one of my video I have told void is a data type where we don't return anything. Okay, so it is void add, this is the function name, and int a and int b are the formal arguments. Okay, so I'm just declaring what type it is. It is a type which is not going to return any value. So next is I'm going into the main function, same example where I'm going to declare my two variables ci and c underscore I and c underscore e. Here you should notice one important point. I don't have the total here. I'll tell you why. I only declare two variables as my integer, which is my input two values. I'm getting the same, I'm printing it and getting the value. Now here, instead of writing it as total equal to add function, I'm just writing it as add in bracket. I'm just writing it as c underscore I comma c underscore e, which means add, we all know it is a function name, yeah, because that is what we have given here itself. So this is the function name and this is the actual arguments. Why? Because inside the function, inside the main function, I have the arguments or the parameters as the c underscore I and c underscore e, which is the actual argument. So I am representing that inside the function here. Once I call this function, it moves to the calling function. So this is where it is called. Now again here, instead of adding putting it as int, I write it as void. Why? Because I'm not going to return the value. So it is void. Void add. I'm putting the formal arguments here. So int ci comma int ce, which is the parameters that I'm going to use here. Okay. Now inside the function of add, I am writing it as int c underscore total. C underscore total is nothing but adding these two values. Done. Now I am going to print it here itself. Earlier case, I would have I would have typed it as return c underscore total and the printf will be in the main function. Here, instead of returning the value, why? Because I'm not going to return any value and it is void add. So I cannot go back and return the value. Once the function is called, it comes here, executes the operation, whatever has been done inside this function, and I am going to showcase the output. So the operation is done, it's called, add is called and the function is called. So it is going inside this add function. The job is done, task is done, and I'm going to print it. So because I'm not going to return any value. So function with arguments and no return value. In the previous case, it was function with arguments and return value. This is the difference. Now let us move to the next type. Next one is functions without argument and with return value, which means I have the function here, but there is no parameter inside, which means there is no argument represented here. But I'll return the value from the function called function to the main function. Let us check how it is. Same, I'm starting it as int add. See here, it is the int represents the return type, integer has been written, add is the function name. Within bracket, I'm not writing anything because I don't have any arguments inside it. Without arguments, I'm calling the function. Whatever may be the operation, I just call the function so I can do and perform the, go inside and perform the operation. Okay, now next is void main, and here int total, because I'm not representing any parameter here, so that is why I'm not calling, I'm not declaring the variable inside this main function. I just want the total alone because I have the return value int total. And once I write total equal to add bracket, which means I'm going to call the function and it will be returned back because it's int add. So I'm printing the total. This is the main function, body of the main function. Now once this is done, this total equal to add is been called, it enters the call function where it is int add. So this is my integer type, which is going to be the return type, and add is the main function name, and within bracket I don't have any arguments, so I enter the function. I have two parameters. One is the internal value, then the external value or the marks. Then I have the total marks, 3. Third one is also included here. Then I get the marks and print it. C total equal to Ci plus Ce underscore E. So I just get it. Now here I don't print it because it's a return type. So I return the C total. I just print it here. Fine. So I don't have any arguments, but I return the value. Same example is being used for the last one. Last one is the functions without arguments without return value, which means I don't have anything here inside the bracket, and also I am putting it as void instead of int. Why? Because it's not going to return, the function is not going to return back to the main function. So void main, the body of the function is just int total, adding, and this is the function name with no arguments, no formal or actual arguments, and I'm entering inside the function name add. Here again it is void add because I'm not going to return the function. So it is void. It's not neither int or anything else. It's just the void. Okay. Entering into the add function, it is int c underscore I, c underscore e, and comma c underscore total. Same, I get the scanf and printf. I add it and put it in c total. Instead of return c underscore tot, I just directly print it here. So I'm not returning it without any arguments. That's it. Thank you.